Welcome back to Weather Club Wednesday. I'm your host, meteorologist Adam Epstein, and this is the final episode of the series. This one is called Climate Impacts. So if you recall from last week, we talked about the changes in our atmosphere when it comes to climate and carbon dioxide concentrations. So over the past million years or so, carbon dioxide levels never got over 300 parts per million until recently. And not only did they get over 300 parts per million, but now we're over 400 parts per million. So that's one of the changes we need to recognize. No matter what's causing the change, carbon dioxide levels are up. And with carbon dioxide levels going up, so does our temperature go up too. So the blue line, the navy blue to black line, is showing the rises and falls from the seasons, but overall, summers are getting hotter and winters are getting warmer. So that temperature trend is going up and up and up with the same trend that carbon dioxide is going up in too. So when you look at the 10 hottest years on record globally, not just in your backyard, not just in your state, but around the world, temperatures are going up too. In the past 5 years, those have been the hottest 5 years. 2019 currently ranked second. So this is a trend showing us that we're getting warmer and warmer. And 2020 has a pretty good shot at being the hottest year on record, so that trend continues. So what does that mean for us? What impacts can we expect? Melting ice, polar ice caps have been shrinking. This is something we have observed. Extreme flooding, more intense hurricanes with warmer weather, drought, less rain in dry areas, increased wildfire risk. You have a longer fire season because it's drier. And just take a look at Australia, what happened recently in December and January. We had the driest year on record in Australia, and then 27 million acres of land burned. The winters are getting warmer too. That's here in Sacramento. This graph shows that temperatures are slowly going up. So recreation, tourism can go down. Think about snow in the Sierra. Production of fruits like apples, cherries, and peaches, they're hurt. And crop pests live even longer because they're not getting frozen out, or they don't go back into their form of hibernation when they tend to because temperatures are staying warmer. And with hotter years, you get more fires too. The number of large fires across western states, including California, has been going up. So that's the trend we're seeing here too. The 8 years on record with the most fires have all been warmer than average. And this also costs money. California billion-dollar disasters have been going up each decade, and the 2010s, well, that's going up too. So why is this happening? Well, when you have warmer oceans and warmer air, we can go through the checklist of what occurs down the chain. Hurricanes intensify faster with warmer water using it as fuel. Warm air holds more moisture than cold air, so rainfall rates can intensify. It can dump more rain in a certain area. This worsens inland flooding, and that costs money to fix. Another example, warmer atmosphere melts the ice caps. Sea level starts to rise, coastal flooding becomes more of an issue. That costs money. Extended heat brings on more drought stress, larger wildfires. To fix that, it costs money. So in the 2010s, the decade, it cost $119 billion across the western states to fight these natural disasters. The Arctic sea ice is at a minimum now. So the record low was in 2012, not that long ago. And notice the trend here, all below the average, which is this darker blue line. So it's declining by 12.8% per decade. And if this trend continues, it won't be too long until we don't have any Arctic ice anymore. And this is a positive feedback mechanism. Positive in the sense that once one thing gets started, it kind of piles onto itself and it hurts even more. So positive's not a good thing in this scenario. So this is the heat spiral. As global temperatures rise, sea ice melts. And when sea ice melts, that means the albedo goes down, and albedo meaning reflectivity. So when you don't reflect as much heat because it's not as bright or shiny and bouncing heat off, it gets absorbed by the ocean. That absorbs more heat, fuels global temperature rises, and you have this vicious cycle that just accelerates on its own. So we don't depend on sea ice being there to live, but these guys do. Polar bears, walruses, reindeer and caribou, even narwhals, the ones that have horns that stick right out of the front of their heads, beluga whales, bowhead whales, they all need Arctic sea ice to live. This is their habitat. So when it starts shrinking, that puts stress on them. When it comes to extreme heat, this is pretty interesting. Sacramento itself has seen a decrease in the number of days with the heat index over 90 degrees since 1979. But that's more of the exception. Check out this map. Do you see more red or blue dots? I think it's pretty clear to see that red dots are all over the place. So most locations have been getting warmer when it comes to extreme heat. And this happens in the ocean too. If you like fishing, not so good news here. So bass, they like water that's generally cooler. But when the ocean gets warmer, it not only pushes them away from their natural habitat, but it can end up killing them. So take this for example. I used to live in Maine, and lobster in Maine you might recognize as being one of the biggest parts of its economy, and it's a staple there. Well, lobster in Maine is getting harder to catch because the warmer waters are pushing them further out to sea, and you have to go further out to sea to find them. And they're not in the usual places. So the cost of lobster is going up, and the health of lobster is declining because the water is not as cool as they're used to. And when it comes to drought conditions, if you lived in California for a few years, you're no stranger to this. The problem is droughts are getting worse and worse and worse. So droughts intensify wildfires and it damages crops. Did you know that 2/3 of American produce comes from California, our home state? Isn't that amazing? It's important that we keep our weather good enough, our climate good enough to support this production, because it could cause more problems, a chain reaction down the line when it comes to food. So when it comes to Sacramento specifically, the top climate hazards for us: warming, drought, and water deficit. So when it comes to coastal locations, it could be the rising sea level, it could be storms, it could be hurricanes. But these are the three that are most important to us. And hopefully we as a group can come together and make the changes appropriate to stop these from getting worse. We don't want it to get warmer, we don't need drought, and we definitely don't want a water deficit. That wraps up Climate Impacts. I want to take a second to say thank you. Thank you for joining me on this ride. I know these are unsettled times. I know that school is out and it can be hard on you, it can be hard on your parents. And I just want to say you made it through this one and you'll only be stronger because of it. So thank you for joining me on Weather Club. And you can join me Monday through Friday mornings, 4:30 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. I'm always there, and we've got a great team waiting to bring you the news and the weather. Have a great day. I'm meteorologist Adam Epstein.